Do you know what the credit card company will do? If they see that you're paying the credit card well, they'll say, "Oh, thank you very much. We've seen that you're managing your account, but we're now going to increase your credit to £5,000 on your credit card." Right? So there you are celebrating. They're giving you more money, which is great if you do have
Mhm.
an emergency, but it also means the trap risk is getting higher.
You said people think that a budget is something that you do when things are tough,
Hmm.
when you're struggling. What does that mean exactly?
There was this impression when I was a child that if I'm getting what I want, then we've got the
Mhm.
money. If I'm not
Yes,
getting what I want, then we are
yes,
poor.
yes,
Do you
that's
see what I
true.
mean?
That's
And
true.
and if you're poor, you have to budget because you don't have
Hmm.
enough.
Hmm.
Right, you're trying to squeeze and make sure
Yeah,
that there's enough. So the term budget then becomes associated with lack.
exactly.
The people that have the money, I realized they know where their money is going and they understand the value of it and they budget for it, not from a place of lack, but from a place of power. If we think about it, businesses are there to sell things to us for them to make money. They make us feel like we need certain things, but do we really need them?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay. And it goes back to there's something that I teach in my courses with people about understanding between the difference between a consumer and an investor.
Hmm.
Right. So I've always loved Nike, right? Every time when I was young, I'd love Nike trainers, Nike tracksuit, Nike this, Nike that, right? But it got to
Hmm.
a point I said to myself, I love Nike, but why am I just giving the money all the time and paying? Why can't I also invest and have a stake?
That's true.
Can
Yeah.
you see the shift?
The
So
shifting,
I had
yes,
to start
yes.
owning some shares in something that I love because I just like the
Mm-hmm.
brand, I like the story behind it. But let me change my mindset a little bit and not just be a consumer,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Makes
So
sense.
we need
Makes
to be
sense.
careful about are we living within our means? And secondly, are we just consumers? Sometimes it's actually safer to purchase certain things with a credit card. I don't know if it's the same there, but in the UK, you are protected by a certain section within the finance system where if in case you get fall into fraud or someone steals your money, if you use a credit card, your money's safer. Or if you're booking
Okay.
flights and you need to cancel, there's a lot that there are the benefits of using a credit card, right?
Okay.
But
Yeah.
then the people that I know who are very good at using credit cards, they use the credit card today and they pay it off within 3 weeks or within 2 weeks. So as
Mm-hmm.
far as the credit company is concerned, this person is actively using the credit, but
Yeah.
then they're also repaying it. So where
Mm-hmm.
the trap is using the credit card and not being able to keep up with the payments or only paying the bare minimum, which
Mm-hmm.
just makes you owe forever.
Welcome to the show, Salome.
Thank you so much, Tafadzwa, Emmanuel. I have to use both names.
Yes, yes, yes. So usually I like to let the guest introduce themselves to the audience so that maybe the audience can get quite of a backstory and relate to my guests. So if you don't mind, can you just give a brief introduction of who Salome is?
Okay. Well, thanks so much, first of all, for inviting me to your wonderful platform. I'm really honored to be engaging. I came across your channel on YouTube and I was very excited that the algorithm directed me to your page and to your platform. And I guess we connected from there and it's a privilege. So my name is as you said, Salome Rumbi Chamboko. I'm based over in the UK. And I'm a financial educator and financial wellness coach, as well as an accountant where I specialize more in tax for business owners as and individuals that have got of high net worth status, maybe let's put it that way, that have got complex tax affairs, and I quite enjoy that. And so yeah, so wearing those two hats, it's a very important thing for me. Personally, I'm also a mother and a wife, and I've got other, responsibilities and hats that I wear.
Yeah.
I also am part of a board of trustees where I am responsible for, again, financial matters, in other areas. So I do wear a few hats. And I also do some youth mentoring for young adults. So all those are things that are around what I do and what I love to do. But primarily, yes, for today, we're focusing on the financial coaching and the career side of things.
Okay, so my question would be, why finance? Is it something that you studied? Is it something that you've always wanted? You know, most of us growing up, we wanted to be doctors, pilots. Finance wasn't really something that you would find someone saying, I want to be a financial expert or a UK tax expert. Why
That's true.
finance? for
That's
you?
very true. And you've taken me back because when I was still in high school, back
Mhm.
in Zimbabwe as well, for that matter, I knew I liked accounts as a subject in high school. It
Okay.
was an optional subject at the time. And
Yeah.
I remember choosing it because I just loved math. So I thought it would be related.
Yeah.
But I then realized obviously there's more business concepts to it. And I just felt it impacts enterprise, it impacts
Mhm.
business and commercial life. So it's something that I fell in love with. And then something happened in where I came across a newspaper article and they were advertising for jobs. There was a jobs column back in the day in the old
Yeah.
Herald newspaper. And I remember seeing a position that said financial analyst. And I was probably like 15 years old at the time. And I thought, financial analyst. And I'd never heard that word before.
Mhm.
And I had no idea what it was, but that role was paying so much money. I said to myself, okay, I think I'm in the right direction. I'm definitely gonna stick to finance. So that was really where it started. And as I got older, I did have the opportunity to just continue to do those kind of commercial subjects. And I wasn't very scientific, actually. That's the honest truth. I was not really great at the chemistry. I was good at physics and maths, but not quite. So I knew the medical side was not for me, or legal side. I didn't like to read too much, so I felt safe that I think I'll be good with accounting, and finance.
Wow. 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 So from that point, you then
Hmm.
moved to the UK. Were
Yeah,
you moving to do nursing or finance? Because at that point, I know quite a number of Zimbabweans who traveled to the UK and
yeah.
they were all going to do nursing.
Yeah, no, yes, yes, all right, yes, all right. I mean, I must give credit where it's due. That
Mhm.
window was a great blessing to a lot of people who were able
Yes.
to
Yes.
transition to live in the UK. And some people continue to be nurses from back home, and
Yeah.
others transitioned totally from different careers to
That's very
become
true.
nurses, right?
Yes.
So as no exception, the people around me, in terms of family members, my support system, were all people that were in the healthcare sector because that's where, people were able to find opportunities to settle. And so
Hmm.
you can imagine that there would have been an indirect and perhaps direct pressure to also follow suit. Because when I did come, I was under the wings of some very loving family members who took me, and looked after me. And the assumption was perhaps I would pursue that.
Yeah.
But I had to really kind of be true to myself in the moment
Hmm.
to say,
Hmm.
is this really what I want to do? And
Yeah.
it brought some resistance because it's kind of like, but why are you trying to be different? This is what we're all doing. And, I almost had to really be true to myself in the
Mm.
process.
Mm.
And I've told the story a few times where I think one of the examples I gave was I even still went on to apply because I thought perhaps it would be my only way to do it, but it just didn't
Hmm.
work out just as well, right? And I'm a person of faith, and I believe God knew it wasn't just for me. And I've got huge respect for the healthcare sector and those that have been able to sort of do that and flourish in it, but it just wasn't my path. And I
Mm.
think I'm glad that I was still able to push and persevere other avenues,
Yeah.
because as you'd know, when you're a young person in the UK, when you're not wanting to pursue tertiary education, the universities are very expensive if you're
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
home
That's true.
student, right? So I think the other situation I had was for me to be an international student and pay the fees at that level, it was very, very expensive.
Hmm.
And so I didn't want to put the strain on my parents who had been left back home, and I had other siblings and they were paying private school fees. It was going to be too much for them. So I thought to myself, there's got to be another way. And thankfully, there was an alternative to, in as much as I got a place for university and was accepted, it was just going to be too expensive. And I was still able to pursue an ACCA career, and find my way, into the accounting world. And so, yeah, that's my little journey.
Wow. 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 That's quite an incredible journey. And I would imagine the guts it takes for you to decide to take a different route altogether, especially maybe at that point you might not have anyone who you knew who took that road as well. So, but at that point, I would like to understand were there even other opportunities,
Mhm.
especially for the foreigners in other sectors, not just in
And
the
health.
nursing and the health sector. Were there doors of opportunities opening at that point?
Um, it's quite a while back. I think we're talking, early 2000s perhaps. There
Mm.
there were some African people that were probably in other sectors, to be
Okay.
honest, but they would be very much in the minority.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Okay.
you're talking perhaps, engineering sector or finance, very, very few, because I didn't quite have, I can only think of one person who was probably already an accountant
Okay.
who I had to be introduced to by someone else at that
Okay.
moment.
Oh yeah,
You see
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? And it felt great to actually have that person to guide me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say there wasn't, but as you'd know, the probability was just higher that a lot of people, if they were not the nurses and perhaps doctors, maybe they'll be like radiographers, but still within the healthcare system, altogether. So people in other professions, perhaps lecturers, perhaps people in education, there would have been some as well. But yeah, I think you're very right to make that assumption that majority definitely would have been in the healthcare sector. So I had to really find, I had to really find, other role models, perhaps outside our
Mm-hmm.
community or things like that, who would be able to hold my hand in that.
Wow, wow, wow. That is great. Okay, so now at that point, I from our previous conversations that we've had, obviously before we recorded and in the past, you told me that you got a job at PwC. Is that correct?
Yes, you remember well.
I remember well. Yeah, so what does PwC do for those who may not know? Just
Okay.
briefly. Or maybe what was your role at PwC?
Okay, I'll answer both questions.
Hmm.
So actually, let me backtrack a little bit to the previous point because I just want to allude to something that for
Yeah.
the generation that I was in, where people that were going to university, people did
Yes.
go for different courses. I don't want
Okay.
to discard that. But I
Yes.
think it was probably the first crop of our first generation migrants, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
who
makes sense.
probably did go into other courses because now
Yes.
those people are now established in their careers. But
Hmm.
going back to your question about getting the job in PwC at the time, again, I remember not really seeing a lot of people of color, African, in my team in particular when I finally did make it. I think most of them were on the auditing side, whereas I was on the
Okay.
tax side. So
Yeah.
PwC is PricewaterhouseCoopers. They're a global consulting firm, one of the big four.
Hmm.
So it was great privilege to have the opportunity to work, even be interviewed rather, because they operate across the world, and we even have them back home, in Zimbabwe. And being one of the big four consulting firms, they do a lot of the auditing of multinational companies. They do a lot of tax work, consulting work, and they do tech consulting as well for IT and
Okay.
various business consulting units, legal. They've got all the aspects that most businesses would desire, but the auditing side is the biggest one. Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll find most big companies that are multinationals use those kind of companies to do their books and their auditing,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So it was a big thing for me, and this is actually coming across the opportunity while on the London side. But again, going back to my journey of faith as a young person, remember I told you about how I saw the financial analyst thing as a 15.
Yes. 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 Yes.
You will not believe that back home when I was still in Zimbabwe, I remember being at a traffic light with my father, and I've shared this story once before, and there was a little bus that pulled up at the traffic light. And it was a PricewaterhouseCoopers bus in Harare
Oh.
at the time. So I remember asking my father, what is this? And it turned
Hmm.
out to be a staff bus for them because they used to carry their staff, and it was a very privileged position for people that were working there. And
Yeah.
I remember him saying to me, you have to be very good at school to actually work for these people. So as God would have it, I then got the opportunity many years later
Yeah.
in London, and I remember it was one of the hardest assessment days. I won't call it an interview because once you had passed to the application phase, you'd go through another process. I can't remember what it was called to
Yeah.
then be called to the assessment day. And the assessment day was a full day. I'm talking 10
Oh.
a.m. to 5 p.m. or something like that,
Wow.
where you're in
Wow.
the
Wow.
building and they're assessing you on various skills, group
Hmm.
settings, individual settings, tests, the maths in the English stuff, business scenarios, timed things. And it was very, very, very gruesome. And then an interview as a part of that. So I feel like getting through that, even when I look back, it's still one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I'm grateful that I was able to be selected.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why they selected me when I got the feedback was because they said that you're already studying the ACCA on your own without an employer support. And that's already showing that you've got good drive. So for us,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
showing that you
Okay.
are someone who's probably a go-getter. I can't remember the exact words, but you see what I'm saying, that
Yeah,
there
yeah, I
had to be
get it.
something
I get
quite
it.
unique. So
Yes.
sorry, I've spent a lot of time there. It's historic, but I think
No,
it's
no, 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 it's
relevant
fine.
to those that are in those kind of situations.
Right, just a quick side note, we have realized that 80% of you who are watching these videos are not subscribed, not because you don't want, but because you haven't realized that you are not subscribed. So if you're finding this type of content very useful, just do us a quick favor. This is what gives us the energy to keep going and giving you this useful information. Just do us a quick favor below. Just check down below and check if you're subscribed. If not, subscribe. Thanks, and back to the episode.
So at that point, I would assume it would have been like your first job that had like a big income compared to to the
Other
more
jokes.
average income that people have, right? But I remember when I got my first job,
Hmm.
I felt like now everything is going to go well. Now I'm going to
Hmm.
have money for everything. I'm always going to have money. But did you have at any point, that feeling where you knew you had income coming in, but all of a sudden you don't even know where your money is going and you are left without money?
Yeah. Oh yes, that's very true. And I think gosh, there is so many money stories I could tell. And I resonate with what you said about
Hmm.
finally landing in that job and you think, wow, this is it,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
sorted. And it's great. I mean, we don't want to downplay those positions and those phases of life, right? It is
Yeah.
good growth to
Yes,
celebrate.
yes.
But I think life quickly kind of shows you its reality before you know it. And I remember at the time that I got this professional role, fortunately, I had been working before that, but not quite at that level, right? And I
Okay.
think
Okay.
so the aspect of managing money had kind of started in its own right. I
Hmm.
just didn't have many responsibilities, and there were just certain things I would look after for myself and my family, and certain things by choice. And so I think when the real job came, one of the aspects that was a bit of a trap was the aspect of really understanding the credit system.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna go there very quickly, because what happens when you start earning, one of the things here, and I'm sure you've got the same in Poland, I would like to imagine, but in the UK and most advanced developed economies, there's a big deal about your credit rating and your credit scoring, right?
Yes,
It gives
yes,
you
yes.
access to things like mortgages and maybe getting car loans and all sorts of other things, right? So it was
Yeah,
very important to then make sure that you are demonstrating that you've got an income, but you're also credit worthy and you can be trusted.
that's true.
But I think within that, there was an aspect of then overdoing the aspect of trying to improve credit worthiness, because I would then get access to credit cards and think, yes, I've got a good income, so I can
Mhm.
service those credit cards, or get
Yeah.
loans, or things that are on credit to think, oh, I'm
Hmm.
building up my credit score. But at the same time, you're almost kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because this credit is not something you're used to. You come from a cash economy and a cash
Yes.
system, and suddenly
Yes.
you've got access to money that seems like it's yours, but it's not really yours. So I feel
Hmm.
like that had a lot to do with how I ended up managing my money. But there's also another aspect of literally just knowing my numbers of what's coming in and what's going out, and just having a discipline and a sense of knowing my numbers to say,
Hmm.
this is what I save, this is what I'm able to invest. There wasn't really any of that planning. It was more of income, income, spending,
Spending.
and paying off all these debts, right? And I think even people that went to university, because I didn't quite go to university, I ended up going to a college to do the ACCA. People
Hmm.
that went to university would also get government funding if they were entitled to, and get some
Hmm.
money, but they would still find themselves in money issues because, again, they're overspending. So I feel like it's not just my story, it's
Hmm.
different facets, and it's a universal thing. And that probably answers why I ended up getting into the financial coaching side, which we can always get into, because I realized it's such a critical area for everybody's lives.
Yes.
Not many
Yes.
people are
Yes.
talking about it.
Yeah. Well, if of course we can get into it because one would assume that, especially for you, you were
Mm-hmm.
already in the financial sector. You were already the lady who knew how the numbers work, the
Yeah.
lady who was in finance departments of big companies. You would
Yeah.
assume that for you, your finances are well budgeted and well allocated, if I can say. And
In theory.
it really shows that, especially for many people, they think that in whatever department they are in, it might be technology, it might be security or what,
Mm-hmm.
they may be tempted to think that since they have that kind of a job, they are actually applying it in their own life and forgetting
Mm-hmm.
that you you may be a person who actually has the information and you are only applying it to your job and you are forgetting to apply it into your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe that this story can inspire someone to actually take a step back and think for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
all these services that I'm providing for my company, am I providing
Mm-hmm.
them for myself? Right.
Yes.
But I also heard one of the conversations that you did when you were a guest at a different podcast.
Okay.
And you said people think that a budget is something that you do when things are tough,
Mm-hmm.
when you're struggling, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean exactly?
Tafadzwa, I think this is to do with there's an upbringing concept to this. It's not
Yeah.
really our fault to think that way.
Yeah.
Because and I appreciate everybody's got different upbringing, but the general underlying point I'm trying to make is there was this impression when I was a child that because we didn't understand, I didn't understand where the money is coming from, and I didn't understand that someone else is having to work hard for it. It
Yeah.
almost felt like if I'm getting what I want, then we've
Hmm.
got the money. If I'm not
Yes.
getting what I want, then we are
Yes.
poor.
Yes.
Do you
That's
see what I
true.
mean?
That's
And
true.
and if you're poor, you have to budget because you don't have
Hmm.
enough.
Hmm.
Right, you're trying to
Hmm.
squeeze and make sure
Yeah.
that there's enough. So the term budget then becomes associated with lack.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it's even worse now. I see, back home there's a totally different, there's a binga culture there, and people are splashing money,
Yeah. Yeah.
all around, and they're, paying ridiculous monies for all sorts of things. So it's almost kind of like budget doesn't exist when you've got money. Do you see what I
Hmm.
mean? So
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
there's an underlying deceitfulness that has happened unknowingly within
Yes.
those examples. But what I've grown to understand and know is in my professional journey as well as in my personal journey, because I've dealt with people that have from different profiles
Hmm.
of status and wealth and influence.
Hmm.
I've learned a lot from them in terms of how they manage their money. And that
Okay.
then made me reflect on myself to say, actually,
Hmm.
why am I not doing this myself?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the people that have the money, I realized they know where their money is going and they understand the value of it and they budget for it, not from a sense place of lack, but from a place of power,
Okay.
of ownership to know I've allocated this, it goes there. I've allocated this, it goes there. This is for the investing. This is for paying off debt. This is for helping the poor. This is for my charitable causes. This is for this and that. So there is a system around
Hmm.
that. And it's the same concept that works even in business, right?
Yeah.
And for a business to operate properly, there
Hmm.
needs to be a cash flow focus to understand, okay, we're going to spend so much on wages, we're going to spend so much on our on our light and expenditure or on our building costs and things like that. So the same things apply to us as people, right?
Yes.
To say,
Yes.
actually, this
Yes.
is how much I earn. This is how much I send my parents. This is how much I cover for my rent. This is how much I do this. There needs to be some kind of order and
Hmm.
arrangement because what I realized was I would then wonder where has my money gone because I've not budgeted,
Yes. 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 Yes.
right? So I think that budget term is actually more positive, as I discovered, than something
Yeah.
negative that I had
Hmm.
grown up thinking
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
budgeting is for when you don't have enough and you have to really be tough and tough.
Yes. 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 So the reason why I went to budgeting
Hmm.
is because we were talking about back home being a cash system, and then you were
Mm.
introduced to a credit system,
Yeah.
right? So I just thought that usually when we talk about finances, we're back home, we're just thinking about the money that we have in our accounts or the cash that we have, right? And when it comes to budgeting, usually we're just budgeting even the money that we have in our accounts and the cash that we have in our pockets, right? So
So,
I wanted to ask that when we're doing our budgeting, should we also include credit? Like
mm.
the credit that we have, should we include it in our budget, or we only budget the cash that we have and the money we have in our bank accounts?
That's a very good question, actually. And I
Mm,
think you're thinking about this in a very pragmatic manner. Because there's a line I said earlier where I
yeah.
said the credit, the credit or the money you have access to is credit. And let's define that credit actually, because it
Yes.
comes in different forms. So
Hmm.
there's credit where you've got access to a credit card, let's just say, which is
Okay.
not your money, but
Hmm.
you have been trusted by a bank or another financial institution to say, I'll use an example in pounds just for ease, to
No
say,
problem.
we're giving you a credit card worth up to £2,000 that you can spend on. And obviously, when you do spend on that credit card, you're charged interest, but you have
Yeah.
to pay the money back, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's not your money.
Okay.
It's not
Okay.
your money. So if you've got access to a loan, that's also credit where your bank says, okay, you've told us you want to do, you want to buy a car or you want to do, you want to pay a house deposit or whatever. We're going to give you a loan, or you want to go and start a
Hmm.
business back home in Africa, right? We're giving you a loan of 5,000 or 10,000 or 20,000, whatever it is that you're entitled to.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Technically, that's now your money that they're giving to you, but you are having to repay it, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So in a sense, you can budget around a loan because you've been entrusted with it to do what you need to do with it.
Okay.
So I think
Okay.
that one probably qualifies in the context where it does apply.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas the credit card really is just money that's there, perhaps in case of an emergency that you know you've got access to, but you
Hmm.
know that once you touch it, you're being charged,
Oh.
right,
Okay.
to use it. Okay, so
Okay.
I think to answer your question, the budgeting I'm talking about from an ongoing basis really needs to be the money that you have and you own that's yours. For example, if you're employed, from your employment income, if you
Hmm.
run a business or a side hustle from your business income, you're putting
Hmm.
that together as your income, right? If you are fortunate enough to be renting property or a room somewhere and you're getting money from that,
Yeah.
that's part of the budget. If you're getting an allowance from somewhere, if you're lucky enough to, that's part of what you are budgeting for. So I think I'd rather keep the budgeting conversations to those items, which is the cleared funds you have in your account or the money that relates to what you earn from what you own
Hmm.
yourself.
Hmm.
Because the moment we start budgeting for credit lines, we're really creating a an imaginary line that keeps getting longer and longer because that
Yes.
credit extension, do you know what the credit card company will do? If they see that you're paying the credit card well, they'll say, "Oh, thank you very much. We've seen that you're managing your account. Well, we're now going to increase your credit to £5,000 on your credit card." Right? So there you are celebrating. They're giving you more money, which is great if you do have
Hmm.
the emergency,
Hmm.
but it also means the trap risk is getting higher. You're
Yes.
failing to
Yes. Yes.
repay.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah. So I personally think from what I teach when it comes to budget, your budget is based on the income that you earn for yourself or the income that you make from
Hmm.
from income generating assets.
Okay. Okay. So let's say I have access to credit, let's say
Mhm.
£2,000.
Yeah.
And I also have £2,000 in my bank account, the one that
Mm,
I have that I own.
mm,
What would be advisable if I want to purchase something, let's say something for £500?
hmm
Should I purchase it with my credit card, knowing
hmm
that I have enough cash to just pay it to build my credit, or I should just opt for using the cash that I have?
Okay. Gosh, you're asking me very hard questions, Tafadzwa. I'm joking. Okay, that's a good one as well. Do you know what? There isn't a one answer for that.
Okay.
What I do is called personal finance for a reason
Oh,
because
okay.
it's
Yeah.
personal to the individual circumstances at that
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is if the aspect of building the credit is very important at that moment, because maybe that person wants to buy a house in a year's time, right?
Okay.
Then by
Yes.
all means, they can use that credit card only
Mm-hmm.
because they're trying to, it's for a very specific reason. And
Yes.
they're using it on the basis that they know they've got the money. So really and truly, if they've got the money and they use the credit card, sometimes it's actually safer to purchase certain things with the credit card. I don't know if it's the same there, but in the UK, you are protected by a certain section within the finance system where if in case you get fall into fraud or someone steals your money, if you use a credit card, your money's safer. Or if you're booking
Okay.
flights and you need to cancel, there's a lot that there are the benefits of using a credit card, right?
Okay.
But
Yeah.
then the people that I know who are very good at using credit cards, they use the credit card today and they pay it off within 3 weeks or within 2 weeks.
Mm,
So as
mm.
far as the credit company is concerned, this person is actively using the credit, but
Yeah.
then they're also repaying it. So where
Mm,
the trap is using the credit card and not being able to keep up with the payments or only paying the bare minimum, which
mhm,
just makes
mhm,
you owe forever. Right.
I get.
So I can't then give a prescriptive answer to say, don't ever use a credit card. Generally speaking, don't, because, it can result in unfriendly outcomes if you are not able to pay. But if you are
Yes.
using it, there has to be a very legitimate reason for it. And I think that's where the discipline then comes in and also the knowledge.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, so
mm,
that people
mm.
don't fall into those traps. So, yeah, if you've got the cash, by all means, use the cash. It's your money, so you budget on that. But going back to the budgeting, like, you'd only dip into the credit if it makes sense to because you're doing it, yeah, for a good reason.
Yes, yes. So talking about the knowledge actually of
Mm.
all these loans, credits, and stuff like that. When I moved from Zimbabwe to Poland,
Mm-hmm.
I got introduced to this thing called Klarna, right? And all these applications where I can just purchase, it might be clothes, it might be accessories, anything I can just purchase
Yeah.
and then I repay. But something that I also didn't understand is that for some of these applications, when I'm paying back, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
actually paying the money that I used. There's also like an interest of some sort. I end up paying even more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but there's a lot of temptation of using all these credits. As you said, they send you messages saying you now have access to this, you have access to this, you can now
Mm-hmm.
buy this, right? And I realized that we also need to understand this thing called debt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people are in debt, especially this cycle where now someone might be paying when they receive their salary,
Mm-hmm.
they pay their debt and then they borrow more to pay
Mm-hmm.
their bills. And then it's like a cycle. Every time when the salary comes, they have to pay the credit first or the loan, whatever. And then they have to borrow again so that they can pay, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are being caught in all these cycles. And maybe you can help. Of course, I do understand this thing is personal, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe we can go through maybe some general steps
Oh,
of
yes,
how
absolutely.
someone can counter this. Maybe someone is in this situation and
Mm-hmm.
they want to get out of the situation. What
Okay.
are the possible best steps that they can take, maybe starting from today?
Okay. Yeah, no, I think we need to be quite practical. There are a lot of general aspects which apply to a lot of people. And it goes back to first principles. And when I say first principles, what I mean is people have probably heard the saying, living within your means,
Yes.
right? I think we need to start from there. Um, when we live within our means, it means that the lifestyle you create for yourself is within what you can afford based on what your income level is.
Yes.
So we need to constantly assess ourselves whether we are living within our means. And
Mm-hmm.
where we are not, we start to really consciously cut back on that. Otherwise, we lose control and end up in exactly the loop you've just mentioned of
Yeah.
you get paid, you repay debt, and then you're still in debt, and then you get paid again. You borrow from Peter to pay Paul, and it becomes a bit of a
Yes.
merry-go-round, right? And
Yeah.
and that becomes a very acceptable and ongoing situation because
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, I call them the advanced economies. Sorry, I wanted to just say these developed worlds have normalized that lifestyle of
Yeah.
staying in debt. And I
Yeah.
think people that are back home in Africa in developing country settings where, we have a cash economy, they don't quite understand that because
Mhm.
sometimes people are living a life that's actually fake because they are wearing sneakers from Klarna, wearing a t-shirt from
Yeah.
Klarna and a cap from Klarna, a holiday from Klarna. Like everything is being sponsored by the debt. right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's an aspect of us really taking a step back and kind of applying that lifestyle of let me try and live within my means. Do I really need this?
Yeah.
Secondly, there is also a consumerism culture, which
Mm-hmm.
we need to deal with as a people, right? If we think about it, businesses are there to sell things to us for them to make money. They make us feel like we need certain things, but do we really need them?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay. And it goes back to there's something that I teach in my courses with people about understanding between the difference between a consumer and an investor.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I've always loved Nike, right? Every time when I was young, I'd love Nike trainers, Nike tracksuit, Nike this, Nike that, right? But it got to
Mm-hmm.
a point I said to myself, I love Nike, but why am I just giving the money all the time and paying? Why can't I also invest and have a stake?
That's true.
Can
Yeah.
you see the shift?
The
So
shifting,
I
yeah,
had to start
yes.
owning some shares in something that I love because I just like the
Mm.
brand, I like the story behind it. But let me change my mindset a little bit and not just be a consumer,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Makes
So
sense.
we need
Makes
to be
sense.
careful about are we living in our within our means? And secondly, are we just consumers?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're just consumers, all we are doing is we're just making other people rich in the name of looking good
Yes.
ourselves. But we are actually putting our own finances to a detriment because we're then also making the debt companies rich because we're then paying them interest for actually being consumers in the process. So I appreciate I've probably gone a little bit on a tangent there, but for you to then start to see things in a different way, or sorry, for you to start doing things in a different way, you have to start seeing things in a different way as well,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think there is no immediate fix. Um, it's just like you want to be keep fit, right? You have to go
Yes.
to the gym, you have to do the exercises, you have to wake up, you have to do you have to put in the work.
Yeah.
But for you to see the result you want, it means you have really wanted it first. So it's the
Mm-hmm.
same with money. How much
Mm-hmm.
do you really want the shift of coming out of debt, of really changing your situation? It's gonna take work. And that
Okay.
work is gonna take a little bit of pain of letting go of certain things that you probably really, really, really want to be enjoying as luxuries. So let's probably
Mm-hmm.
stay to the understand the difference between our needs and wants.
Okay.
What are the
Okay.
things that
Okay.
you re are you paying rent on your on debt? If you are,
Mm-hmm.
then there's a big problem. But are you paying for extras that you just want on debt? Then, perhaps you can make adjustments there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a whole like lens
Yes.
to deal with around that, but it's a mindset issue.
Mm-hmm. Wow. 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 We're learning a lot. We're learning a lot. And before we even conclude, I want
Mhm.
us to talk about your book,
Mm.
Winning the Money Game.
Oh yes, I've got it
Why
here.
did you decide to call it a game?
Oh gosh, winning the money game. So I called it winning the money game, money lessons you can't afford to ignore.
Hmm.
And then I hadn't done my research. Somebody else had a book called Winning the Money Game. I hadn't realized that. But they don't have it as money lessons you can't afford to ignore. So thankfully I've got that extra line there.
Okay.
But personally, when I wrote the book, you can probably tell how my mind works by now. But when I wrote the book, I was kind of thinking of the money life and the money stories that
Hmm.
impacted me because
Yes.
I also went through the debts and I also went through kind of making mistakes and all that kind of stuff. And I made the
Mm.
conclusion that life is a series of games, if we think about it. The
Yes.
money game in particular has got winners and losers. The
Hmm.
money game in particular has got rules,
Yes.
right? So if you understand the rules of the game, if you understand the difference between good debt and bad debt, if you
Hmm.
understand the importance of having a budget versus not having a budget, if you understand that concept, simple concept of your needs versus your wants, and just the point about living within your means that I've said, if you understand what investing is, even at the most basic level, right?
Yes. Yes.
All those things make a big difference to the outcome of your life and your
Hmm.
lifestyle because money impacts everything that we do,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So for me, calling it winning the money game was thinking about it from that angle of it's a game. I thought, and I remember having a visual thing in my head of the game of chess, of
Yeah.
moving, in
Yeah.
different positions. You have to
Hmm.
be calculative. You have to
Hmm.
be, sometimes you have to take a risk. sometimes you have to be a bit conservative.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to stay put. Sometimes you have to, so it's a whole combination of those different moves. And when you get it
Mhm.
wrong, the principles are principles. Things will
Yeah.
also go wrong.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
can't get everything right, which is why I called it money lessons you can't afford to ignore. I was sharing my own stories, some
Hmm.
of the mistakes as well as the lessons, right?
Yes.
And I think there is only so much we can do. They say prevention is better than cure, right?
That's true.
Um, Sometimes people have to make those mistakes so that
Yes.
they really learn. But
Yes.
why don't we make it easier and just
Hmm.
bring the knowledge, especially for people that are transitioning into the diaspora, into different financial systems? Because
Hmm.
that's where the big trap has been. There are certain things that took me 5 or 10 years to know and do, yet it could have taken me 2 years if I had known better.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
why don't I help somebody else who's also a young professional or who's new to business or who's curious and keen to work on their finances to then give them the blueprint of the book. And the book is very small. I think you've got an e-version of it, but it's not a
Yeah.
big book.
Hmm.
Um, and it's deliberate just to make it very concise to the key
Yes.
areas.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's the answer.
So, okay, so where can people find the book? Because I'm sure by now
Yeah.
people will be asking, where can we find the book? Where can we get the book?
Okay. No,
Yes.
that's absolutely fine. So it's on Amazon. And I had to hold it up so that they can see this color.
Yeah.
So Winning the Money Game, Money Lessons You Can't Afford to Ignore. It's got a money jar on it and my name on it. So yeah, Amazon UK, it's available there. It's both. You can buy a hard copy or you can buy the Kindle version.
Hmm.
I also have a website, which is www.salomeroo.com. So Salome Rumbi, so salomeroo.com.
Okay. Okay.
And I've got a resources section there as well where people can
Hmm.
also order the book. And there's other resources as well. And I've also got
Hmm.
blogs that I've written. Like I really need to write more blogs, but there are some blogs that are there for people that want to read as well.
Okay. And you also spoke about the courses that you offer.
Hmm.
I wanted to ask, since you're in the UK,
Yes.
do you only provide it for the people who are in the UK or it's for anyone in general?
Okay, so there's certain aspects where when people register for it, it might be very UK specific. But to be honest with
Okay.
you, given the global world that we are in right now,
Hmm.
I've done online courses where people have joined from other parts of the world. Okay.
Yes.
And they pick what's relevant because there's certain things that are just universal.
Yes.
And I'll give you an example. There is course I did last year on stock market investing for beginners. Right.
Yes.
In as much as I was using like UK specific kind of investment companies to talk about how to do it, I was
Hmm.
teaching
Hmm.
the concept which can apply
Yes.
universally. And I
Yes.
remember when I then updated it on YouTube and put it on YouTube for other people to watch, it was someone from Austria who sent me a message to say, "Oh my God, I've learned so much about investing. I now know what to
Hmm.
do."
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
So that goes to show that, the money concepts, they are universal, to be honest. So yeah, when
Yes.
I do courses, if I put them on my social media, I normally put updates on my Facebook or my what's it called, or Instagram,
Instagram.
or yeah, TikTok here and there to just say if I've got a course coming up,
Hmm.
then people can always register and take part.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and then other times I get invited by specific groups. So maybe it could
Yes.
be like, I don't know, a church group or something, and they want me to talk to the young adults, or it could be a community or something like that. That's another way also that other people can also get access depending on where they are. But yeah, absolutely. It's a global message, Tafadzwa, really is.
Okay, so for someone, let's say, besides the courses,
Yeah.
do you offer like a one-on-one, maybe
Yeah.
financial audit, maybe?
Yes, yes, I do. I
And
do
yeah,
financial education and I help people with like a review of their finances. Yes, we look at the income and outgoings, we look at your goals, we look at, making sure that you've got a bit of education around understanding future planning when it comes to things like pensions. That's another big area where people are very poor at because we're not forward thinking, we're thinking of the moment. So we're looking at
yes,
everything from what you're dealing with right now, what you plan for the future. Life is not guaranteed, of course, I know that. But,
yeah,
it's about having the mindset of thinking short term, but also long term. So we
Mm.
look at all the different facets. We look at the debts management, and we look at even increasing your income. This is the other thing
Mm.
that people also don't realize in terms of, yeah, this is the other thing I didn't tell you that I do. So I'm actually an apprenticeship coach for people that are in tax careers.
Okay.
Yeah, but they work in different companies, and I help them progress in their careers in terms of what they need to look out for and how they can grow and develop to the next level. So my services can come in different buckets, but when it comes to looking at the money side, we also want to think about how you can improve your income beyond
Mm.
your nine to
Mhm,
five or
mhm,
beyond
mhm,
your
mhm,
shift
mhm.
work to use your gifts and your talents to make yourself more money.
Okay, okay, okay. Wow.
Yeah, so one-to-ones definitely yes.
Wow, wow, wow. And the last thing, where can people find you, Salome? Where
Oh
can
yeah,
people
sorry.
find you?
I did preempt my yeah. So I think the best place will be, I guess I've already said the website www.salomiru.com. There
Yes,
is a contact me button there if people want that, but social media is obviously always the easiest. That's how we connected, isn't it, Tafadzwa? So
yeah,
in
that's
as
how
much
it
as I've been to Poland before, I didn't see you when I came there. So, we still managed to connect online. So Facebook, Salome Ru is my name. So Salome and then Ru only on its own. Same
Mhm.
thing on Instagram at Salome_Ru, and then TikTok is the same as well, Salome Ru. So yeah, I think those are the main platforms. I hope I haven't missed any.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you learned a lot from the conversation that we've just had. If you're someone who's just beginning, or maybe who wants to learn more about financial education, this is the person that you can go to. They will teach you a lot about financing, UK tax, they investing as they have said, and everything that you may need. You just go to either a website or Instagram or any of the preferred platforms that you just had here mentioned. And I would like to say thank you, Salome, for your time, for accepting the invitation to come to the podcast. And I think I will also invite you for some other time. We really need to know about investing, right? I
Okay.
didn't want to mix it because it's a whole big topic on its own.
Absolutely.
So, but thank you very much for the time that you've sacrificed to come and teach us a bit about finances.
Oh, thank you. It's a privilege. Thank you. I love your platform and yeah, keep doing what you're doing as well. It's a privilege to have come on board and yeah, let's keep learning and growing. That's all I always say to people. You never stop
Yes,
learning. You never say, I now know it all, right? Because
yes,
you're
yes, yes.
constantly growing and learning lessons. So thank you so much for the opportunity as well.
No problem. And for the people who are watching, please do not forget to like, to share, and to comment. And also, this video will be a collaboration from my channel to her channel. So please do visit her channel and watch all the stuff that she's put over there and subscribe and comment and show your love, show your support on her channel as well. But until next time, it is goodbye for now.